All right, welcome everyone. We are going to learn how to sit today for meditation. Not like this, but maybe in a chair. So I wanted to give you a bunch of options. I know that when we come to the mat to meditate, the mind is such a big challenge that we don't need any more challenges to get in the way of us coming and showing up and doing our practice. So we're gonna work a little bit with some different ways that we can sit. The first one that I'm gonna say is, the first thing that I'm going to say is that you want to be comfortable. There are different schools of thought around this, and my school of thought is that with all of the other challenges that come with meditation, why not make the physical part of it a little bit easier if we can? So if you get uncomfortable in whatever position you choose, know that you can always adjust and move and shift around a little bit to get comfortable again, and then go back into your practice. Nothing wrong with a chair. You can sit on a chair. I recommend feeling grounded and balanced when you're sitting, so cross-legged might not be the best option. Both feet on the floor, and if you are not as long as I am and your feet don't come to the floor, you can put some blankets or towels or books underneath your feet so that your feet are touching down on something. And then the other thing, again, because of my height, it's kind of hard to demonstrate this, but if we sit back in a chair, a lot of times what happens is our tailbone starts to tuck under and we slouch back and lean into the back of the chair. So when we are in a meditative practice, though it is relaxing and calming and a quieting practice, there is a little bit of activity in the fact that we are sitting up. So we have to be able to hold ourselves up. So we need some strength for that, but also our alignment can be our support so that we don't have to muscle our way into it. So if we sit closer to the edge of the chair, we don't have the back behind us, so we have to sit up a little bit taller. And you can feel that it's easy to kind of rock your pelvis forward and back here in this position. And you want to tilt it a little bit forward so that you can sit nice and tall. And there's a little bit of a natural curve through the low back. Okay. So this is another good place to be. The next place we'll go is into some props, bolsters and blocks and things like that. You can do this in a couch as well, but if you are using your couch, think of it the same way you would the chair, right? We don't want to sit back into it and slouch. We want to sit a little more forward so that we can stay tall. We'll go to the next level, which will be a bolster, and actually we'll do this one at the wall. Okay, so I put my bolster just about up against the wall. I can probably just stick my hand in between the two, so it's just slightly forward. And I've got my blocks, but if you don't have blocks, you can roll up a few towels or blankets. You can use books if you want to, though I think the towels and blankets are a little nicer because they don't slide around. So you can sit cross-legged. And we don't want to just sit right back against the wall and pushed all the way on top of the bolster. We want to tip the pelvis forward just a little bit. We're not looking for a sway back, but we're looking for a natural curve so that we can release through the hips. And then my legs are not touching the ground here, so I'm going to support them with some blocks. And then there's a bit of space now between you and the wall because everything is supporting you. You can see how it feels to maybe put a pillow behind you so that you can still sit tall but have just that little added support. And this feels really nice. I like this one. If you can't cross your legs for whatever reason, ankles, knees, something's going on, hips, you can sit, stack up maybe perhaps a little bit higher, 2 bolsters. This actually doesn't feel bad at all. And oftentimes, for many years I would be sitting on 2 bolsters stacked up with 2 blocks on each side, blankets and pillows and all of the things. And I've gradually over the past, I don't know, 15, 20 years, some 20 something years, made my way almost to the floor. But this is another way you can sit. Or come into this posture once your legs start falling asleep, if that's the case. Sometimes I end up here, and then I switch to the other leg. Another option is to kneel onto your bolster. And this still might feel a little bit tight in the knees or in the feet. So if you bring yourself up a little bit higher, this feels really nice. And this is very easy to sit in. And if you're sitting for a while and the legs fall asleep here, again, don't suffer through it. Come out for a moment, bring one leg up. And then maybe you come back in and bring the other leg up. There's no one way that your seat needs to look. I will show you the final version. I like using a blanket. And I fold it here, and then the perfect height for me most days is to just give it another little fold here, so there's a little bit of a lip. And again, I'm not sitting right on the back of it. I want to tip forward a little, let the legs come down. And with this, you know, you've seen those little meditation cushions. You can sort of squeeze this in so it fits just right. And this is where I end up. So when you land, you want to feel that the weight is balanced evenly through the sit bones, and that your shoulders start to move over the hips, and your head starts to sit right on top of the spine. So the chin moves in slightly as the back of your head lifts up and the crown moves towards the ceiling. And instead of thinking about muscling your way into this, I like to use the breath. So there is some strength that has to come in order to sit upright like this. But we want to try to use the minimal amount of effort to find that. So we'll practice for a moment, closing your eyes. Take a breath in the nose and release it out the mouth. And allow for yourself to feel heavy, weighted and grounded through your legs and the whole pelvis, so that you really root in. And this is, you are here in any of the sitting options. And as you ground and feel connected to the weight below you, almost like a piece of seaweed, right? Connected at the root, but flowing in the water. So imagine that you can just allow yourself to find those same sort of movements, swaying a little side to side, forward and back, or circling. You don't even have to do it in any kind of order. And allow your breath to deepen here, to lengthen. But with ease, the sense of grace around it, no straining or forcing. Notice how your breath can travel not just through the front gate of your body, but through the sides, into the back. And allow for your inhalations to move up the spine, imagining that the breath could create just a little bit of space in between each vertebra as it rises. And as you exhale, gently feel how your body begins to stack, right? Shoulders over hips, head over shoulders, shoulders soft. So there's a settling in and a softening that can happen as well. You might notice that as you inhale, the chin might even want to lift up a little bit, but as you exhale, bring the head back into position. And notice how with each exhale, as you settle in, you can feel yourself landing right on top of your sit bones. I find just having my eyes closed and using the breath to find my seat almost begins to just prepare me for my seat. You might notice that you feel like staying a little bit longer now. And if you don't have to worry about holding yourself up, tension in the hips or back, it makes it a lot easier to stay. So give yourself the time to set up in a way that supports you. Allow your chin to tip in towards your chest, but continue to keep the spine long and the heart lifting, so we're not rounding here. And then allow for your eyes to blink open. And let the gaze be soft as your head floats up. And hopefully you found an easier seat. So I teach a stress-reducing series that meets once a week at noon Mountain Time. I meet live on Zoom, though probably about half of my students do not come to the live session because they're working or unable to for whatever reason, so they receive the recordings. And you get to keep the recording for the entire month, and then they disappear and the next round starts. So you can use these as often as you'd like. And I always include a meditation each month in it. I include Yoga Nidra as well and some restorative yoga. And then I am going to be offering, come March, a 6-week series through Yoga MCC. It's a Sankalpa series. And we work with meditation every week in order to get the mind to start to quiet down so that we can begin to listen to what our Sankalpa is. And Sankalpa is it's the truth, it's the desire within our heart that we are willing to put every effort that we have into its coming to fruition so that we can see our lives being lived in connection with spirit and our truth. So in order to figure out what that desire is, what that truth is, and what we need to call upon in order to evolve and use that as our guide, we have to get to a quiet place because the mind gets in the way and tells us what it thinks we should be doing or what we need, and we don't always get a clear answer when we're coming from a space like that. But when we get quiet, judgment dissolves and we find clarity, and within that space we find our Sankalpa. So we'll be doing a bunch of different practices each week to prepare for either a Yoga Nidra or a meditation. The majority of them are meditations seated. So hopefully this will help you with that. And if you're interested in joining us, please reach out to me at bridgetshaw.com, BRIDGETTESHAW.com, or you can head on over to yogamcc.com. And we will send you in the right direction. And I look forward to sitting with you soon. Namaste.